Evening, J-Pod. It's me, Mr. Mustaflis. I'm coming to you live from my parents' house. I'm coming to you live from an Airbnb. Just ignore the people outside. Today we'll be looking at some student meal ideas that Athelstan was talking about last week. He's going to attempt to make one, so here we go. So for this meal, I've just come up with a recipe based on some vegetables we have, so as you can see here, and some basic sauces that you guys would have, as well as the spice mixes. These spice mixes are two different ones. They have recipes on the back, so always have a look there. They also have the ingredients that tell you what's in the spice mix, as well as how much they suggest using for those special sort of recipes. They also come in different packets, so just make sure you get ones that are convenient for you. And we'll start by prepping all of our vegetables, cut up the onions into sort of dice pieces so that you're happy with how quickly they cook. Next we'll cut up some tomatoes. Now I had to use these because my mom bought these and therefore they were going to rot if we didn't use them, so I just wanted to use all of them. These would be your sort of common vegetables that are good for nutrition, as well as all-rounder vegetables used in a bunch of different things. Carrots, celery would be your main sort of source of soup stock ingredients and whatnot. So just cut them how you like. And then I liked using broccoli because it's nice and sort of hearty and gives you a nice green color. Feel free to use any other vegetables you like to use. It's up to you, really. Next, we're going to get our stove ready. Get your pot, whichever you want, ready. Get enough oil to cover the onions, and make sure you use a wooden spatula, as you do have some tomatoes going in. As you can see, I'm just going to be experimenting with this particular recipe. It's been a while since I've done this, so it's going to take a bit of trial and error on my part. I did decide to go with 1 and maybe a quarter teaspoons of the spice mix, and then put in all the vegetables and any other spices I thought would be necessary. This turned out to be a bit too mild, so you may need to I recommend maybe going to 2.5 teaspoons, maybe 3, depending on your taste level as well, and how much water you end up putting in. Don't forget, like I did, to get your noodles ready. I kind of forgot halfway through prepping the end of this dish, so the liquid was not incorporated well. It wasn't really balanced, so it's very watery. The next time I do this, I'll try to cook it for longer. I'll try to emulsify that liquid a little bit more. But this is what happens, basically. Coming up with recipes, you just have to just tweak it as you go. As you can see, I'm just slowly waiting for each component to break down, the tomato turning into almost a slushy sort of sauce. I would recommend maybe going a little bit longer so that it sort of almost purees itself in that heat, and then adding the vegetables and letting them cook down. Making sure for these heartier vegetables that they simmer for longer so they don't snap like that. It's a bit too crunchy, but it's up to you on how you like your vegetables. Lastly, put the broccolis in last. Make sure there's enough liquid in there so that they steam, and make sure you seal the lid when you're in that simmering mode. You don't want to lose any of that liquid. You want it to sort of emulsify in that dish. And again, get your noodles or rice or bread, whatever you're wanting to eat with this, ready. And then go to mix. And as you can see here, this is where I kind of messed things up. This is where it was a little bit too diluted. So it's a trial and error thing. I haven't done this in like a few years, so it'll depend on what kind of spice mixes you use. Different spice mixes will have different items in there. So have a play, have a look through it. Make sure you get things right in terms of procedure. And if you're using meat, you can put them in when you have just gotten halfway through cooking your onions to incorporate all that meat flavor in there. And we can then take it from there. So, Mr. Mustaflis, how did you like that dish that I prepared? Yep, so that definitely worked. However, yeah, it was very watery. You should definitely learn to do better. Athelstan, you're better than that. Please ignore the people on the side. They're watching the news at the moment. I have no relation with them. But next week or next time, we'll be looking at some other dishes, try to improve on that recipe, and see where we go from there for student meals.